Hey everyone, so in today's episode I'm going to be building that bracket to hold the fuel shutoff on the P-Pump. So what we're looking at here is a P-Pump on another 12 valve I have sitting here in my shop. This here is the piston and return spring. This is the solenoid with the mounting bracket that mounts to the P-Pump. Let me show you how it works. Basically, it mounts to the pump up here off of the AFC housing, and it operates the piston up and down, controlling the shutoff, just like that. And what I'm going to be doing is making a bracket similar to this, coming off of the AFC housing. And mine's just going to come down real close to the pump and have kind of a clamp for the push-pull cable. I've already removed the up and down actuator that's on the pump presently on my car, and basically mine will just actuate forward to back like this. And that's the plan. So I'm gonna be making my bracket out of 2x2 angle iron. I've got a 4-inch piece cut right here. The plan is to probably cut a good portion off of this as far as we can get it, as a matter of fact, so that we can have it hug the block real tight. And it's gonna be trimmed back this way in order to avoid the arm, and our clamping system will be back here. We're also gonna have a little, probably washer I'm gonna weld on back here to hold the spring that holds our throttle control, which is right here, our return spring for that. So let's get started. We're gonna need to take a measurement so that we know exactly how tight we can run this to the pump. Looks like we can go with about 3/4 of an inch. So from this wall out, we'll cut it at 1 inch, and if we can get it any tighter, we'll shave it down afterwards. All right, so I've gone ahead and cut 1 inch off of the one side here. And what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna break this solenoid off of this bracket, flip it upside down, and trace these mounting holes on there so that I get a real accurate location where they are. All right, I'm just gonna take this pretty much like this. I wanna make sure that when I mount this on the pump itself, that it's as far back as possible. So I'm gonna get these holes lined up. Right about there looks good. And grab my little Sharpie here. Dang, this plate is so grimy. And I'm just gonna mark out what we're seeing here. And let's get those drilled out. I'm gonna use my awl to make a real accurate setting so the drill bit doesn't slip. Okay. All right, as you can see here, our holes line up pretty dang good. So let's go see if it'll sit on the pump. All right, so it looks like in order to get it to fit on the pump, we're gonna have to first make a few modifications. We're gonna have to notch out this area here. We'll probably remove this area as well. And we're gonna have to do kind of a swooping notch on this area right here to clear the arm. And then it should sit on there. Let's get to cutting. All right, well, it's not really a big surprise that this portion didn't fit here. It's notched out on this bracket, so let's just go ahead and get it traced on. and then we'll cut it. Just like that. And we'll cut this piece too. And then from here, like I said, probably do something along the lines of that. Hopefully that should be enough. So this one's gonna go kind of like this. We'll remove most of that as well. All right, and I'll show you what this looks like when it's done. Okay, I don't know how you guys cut all your pieces, but I do this quite often. I always draw my marks on the outside. Well, I can't cut my stuff on the bandsaw this way. It would probably work with a plasma cutter, but I have to cut with the flat sides laying down on my bandsaw, so I always have to redraw everything on the inside. Just something to remember. All right, let's see if our piece fits. It looks pretty promising. The tabs for the ears are a bit long, so we'll knock those down and I think we'll be right where we need to be. All right, well, looks like we got ourselves a winner. Time to drill some holes in this thing and make that mounting plate. All right, so I've taken some measurements and set it over on the car, and what I've come up with to actually clamp down the cable itself, I've drawn a line right here. I've got 2 marks. I'm gonna drill them out and weld these bolts in place, one on each side, and the cable will run in between, and then I'm gonna make a piece of strapping that's gonna bolt over the cable and clamp it down. So I'm gonna get these holes drilled out and you'll get a better idea of what I'm talking about real quick. I was making solid progress until I realized I welded the nuts or bolts in there backwards, so now I have to try and get these out. All right, now as you can see here, I've taken a piece of 18 gauge sheet metal and clamped it down over our pull cable sheathing. So what I went ahead and did was clamp it on one side. I took my hammer that looks like this and I beat the sheet metal up to the edge of the sheathing as tight as I could, grabbed another clamp, clamped it down on the other side, and did the same thing. And now as you can see, once we bolt it down, it's not gonna go anywhere. So all we gotta do now is take it off, drill the holes in it for that, those 2 bolts, and we should be done. All right, everyone, well, here's the finished product. You can see that's the mounting point, and that is what mounts the cable there. This last little piece on the end here is to hold the return spring for the throttle assembly. And I'm just waiting for it to cool now before I go ahead and bolt it on the car and move on to the next step. Well, it's a success, the bracket. It's kind of hard to see, but it's mounted down there. The pull cable is mounted to it, and so is the return spring for the throttle. So let me see if I can get a better view for you guys. No, kind of a crapshoot, but it's in there and it works great. So time to jump onto the next thing.